Hi folks, welcome to Transvariance. Transvariance is the first paper of ethereal mechanics, and it goes by the document number Ethereal Mechanics 01. This is the first video of the ethereal mechanics paper. This is the introduction, and we're going to explain what the gift is. I'll explain this diagram in a moment. There are variations that occur to physical systems in translation. Translation is another way for saying in motion. Transvariance or transvariations are the words coined in ethereal mechanics to refer to this class of phenomenon. There are presently 8 transvariations required to compensate physical systems to express nature's wonderful gift. And I'm going to explain what the gift is in a moment. Special relativity has only rationalized 2 of the 8. That would be length contraction and time dilation. In ethereal mechanics, we really call this process dilation, but we're going to cover that in more detail in a later video. This is the outline of the video series. I'm not going to read this to you, just to note that video number 6 is going to highlight secrets and clues hidden in the gift. This is the only part that has not been released to Patreon members yet. The other parts have been released prior. I'm going to release this video next weekend to Patreon members only, but it will be released publicly later on when the other videos come out, so it will be seen in order by the general public. So to understand what the gift is, let's first consider the amusement park ride called the Scrambler. Here you get these buckets or these seats that people ride in that spin around, and then the whole artifact or the whole armature rolls underneath that. And so you get compound spinning motion, which gives lots of centrifugal force, lots of variations in speed, lots of acceleration. Okay, now consider that if you had a child building with blocks, the kind of blocks that just stack on top of each other, trying to build his civilization while riding on the ride. Well, obviously what would happen is these blocks would be scattered to the extremes and thrown off the ride. Okay, now consider the Earth. The Earth is spinning on its axis, and it's spinning around the sun just like the Scrambler. And even further, the sun is spinning around the core of the galaxy, and the galaxy is probably spinning around something else, who the heck knows. And so we are actually on this scrambling system as well. And if we had these motions from this scrambling motion coupled into our everyday lives, it's quite possible that early development in science and technology would have been hindered. And it doesn't really have to be this extreme. It could be very subtle things. Okay, but the gift, the wonderful gift, the gift by the creator of the universe gives the illusion of being stationary even though we are scrambling through the universe. And this provides the optimal conditions for technological and scientific development. So if there is a creator to the universe, that creator obviously designed the universe so that his creations could eventually come to understand themselves and understand the universe. And by so understanding the universe, understand themselves. And because of the gift, the apple fell straight and true and would do so again and again. And repeatability is a cornerstone of trust in science. As long as it happens repeatedly over and over and over again, then we can have trust in something. We can have trust that a bridge will stay up. We can have trust that an airplane will continue to fly. We'll have trust that the money transferred electronically in your bank account will get there appropriately with minimum possibility of a mistake. Okay, and that's very, very important. Now, how does a gift manifest it? The gift manifests itself by subtle changes, variations that affect many phenomena which compensate translation. For example, one example is length contraction. Another example is deflection transvariance, which relatively completely misses. Let me show you what that is in this diagram. Here you have a ping pong paddle set at 45 degrees, and a ping pong ball coming along will hit this paddle and bounce off at 45 degrees. Incident. Now, if this paddle were in motion and the same ping pong ball comes along, intersects at this point in its motion here, the path chosen by the ping pong ball is not going to be 90 degrees. It's going to be some other angle. Okay, but it's going to stay with the paddle such that from the perspective of the paddle, it looks like it's flying away at 90 degrees. Okay, and a lot of physicists are going to, oh, well, yeah, duh, that makes perfect sense. But guess what? This is something very important for compensating the gift and compensating the Michelson Morley experiment, and we will get to that. This is something completely missed by relativity because light also needs to obey this. This wouldn't be deflection, that would be reflection. And we have another transvariance called reflection transvariance. Light must obey this same principle when it reflects off mirrors. Hint, hint, Michelson Morley experiment. So these variations which are caused by translation are called either transvariances or transvariations. They're all manifestations of simple Newtonian physics. They're all explained in ethereal mechanics, and they obey the rules, and the rules being the rules of acquisition, and they include the causality tell, the locality tell, the ambiguity tell, etc., etc. And by contrast, relativity correctly postulates the existence, well, at least of two of these transvariances, but unfortunately, relativity doesn't explain what causes them to be true, what manifests them. To them, it's just voodoo. It must happen. It must be there. And if you actually go to a physicist and ask them, well, what causes time dilation to be true? He's going to be saying, oh, well, you obviously don't believe in time dilation. It's a well-proven fact and blah, blah. And that's not the question. The question is what causes it? Oh, well, yeah. And then some about you have to understand set theory and something coming up with all these gibberish words he doesn't even understand to kind of put you off, that it's too beyond your stupid idiot brain, your untrained brain that could not possibly understand. Please go away. And that's the reaction I get from physicists when I ask them these questions. But in ethereal mechanics, we're going to show you that all these transvariances are simple, mundane, Newtonian mechanic effects, including time dilation, which isn't really time dilation, it's process dilation, and length contraction. Okay, the watershed experiment for the gift is what's known as the Michelson Morley experiment. The Michelson Morley experiment is a very sensitive instrument designed to detect the Earth's scrambling motion through the universe. The result of the Michelson Morley experiment said that the Earth is standing still. This is called the null result. I mean, not even the Earth's rotation was detected by the experiment. This is the most sincere expression of the gift, the concept. Even though we're scrambling through the universe, we have the illusion that everything is standing still. That is wonderful when you think of all the implications of that. Okay, in this video series, like in the paper, we're going to use a high-fidelity simulation of the Michelson Morley experiment. This is a more advanced version than what was published in the paper. The software, the source code will be released to Patreon engineers and above, and the application will be released to Patreon first class and above within the next week or two. I'm almost done making it ready for release. Okay, and in this, you can say Michelson Morley in motion, launch in X. And this will do all the simulations for everything from all the transvariations, reflection transvariation, steering transvariation, emissions transvariation, all the things needed to properly compensate this to give the illusion that we're actually standing still. Okay, we're going to get back to this in more detail in later videos. Okay, but the interesting thing is the gift has an exploitable Achilles heel. Transvariations cannot violate the rules of acquisition, or what I call the rules of scientific acquisition. The rules of scientific acquisition are a formalized list of rules, tells, traps, imperative that aid scientific progress and expose phony science. Okay, one of those rules is the locality tell. A scientific theory that violates locality can never be accepted as a part of a theory of everything. Quantum entanglement. Okay, and with this, the gift is imperfect. It breaks down at the very fringes, okay, but at these fringes, technological progress is not seriously hindered, so that's the compromise. The compromise in the gift is scientific progress is allowed to occur, but there's enough imperfections in the gift that we can find the clues to work ourselves forward to the higher levels of the structure of the universe. Okay, one of those areas where the gift breaks down is the Coriolis effect. Okay, which can be detected with what's known as a Foucault pendulum. Or even you do bowling, you roll a bowling ball down the bowling alley and it's going to curve to the left in the northern hemisphere. I believe it curves to the right in the southern hemisphere. Okay, so the Coriolis effect could not possibly be compensated for, because any means of compensating the Coriolis effect would violate multiple rules of acquisition, to include the locality tell. And therefore, that's where the gift breaks down. Okay, in video 6, we're going to show other extremes where the gift breaks down, and Mother Nature shows us other remarkable things that no one has ever seen before. And these clues direct us on our journey into unexplored territory. And this will be given out to Patreon members in a week or so, and it'll be made public much later when the rest of these video series becomes public. Okay, if you want to help out, this is my website, Distinti.com. If you want to find the Transvariance paper, the Transvariance paper does not include the material I just showed you in the previous slide, because that's later material that came after the paper was written. Okay, you go to my website, Distinti.com, you click on the Ethereal Mechanics tab, and Transvariance is paper number 1. It should be easy to find. If you want to go to the blog site, click here. If you want to go to the Patreon site, click here. At any time you want to come back to the main page, click on Mother Nature here. Okay, and just to let everybody know, I've given up begging and pleading. Okay, when quantum entanglement got awarded the Nobel Prize, I realized that science and physics has gone batshit crazy. Okay, it shows me that science doesn't care about actually solving the problems or the solution to the universe. They haven't gotten anywhere in 100 years. What they've realized is that if they solve the unified field theory, they're all going to be out of work. So it's much better for them to come up with science fiction. And they've all become science fiction authors, and the Nobel Prize has basically become the next Nebula Award or Hugo Award for the science fiction that's being produced by physicists. And I've gotten to the point where, you know what, I've given up. There's no way I'm going to beg and plead to have any of these physicists anywhere near where I'm working, because they're all, and a lot of you physicists out there, if you don't accept the fact that this is gibberish, you're part of the problem. And you say, what's so bad about it? Well, think about it. They say quantum entanglement violates locality. Okay, and then you say, well, okay, then we can have a device that communicates faster than light. And then the videos, you watch any of these videos, oh, well, no, because that would violate the speed of light, and information can't travel faster than the speed of light. Okay, and then it will produce random results. Well, wait a minute, hold on a minute. So what you're telling me is this thing produces random useless results. Well, how did they verify the effect to begin with if it produces nothing but random results? And don't say the Bell inequality experiment, because I can show you, I have another video, I should put the link when I get this video out, that shows you I can get, using simulation, I get the exact same answers to Bell inequality with normal physics. It has nothing to do with entanglement. Another thing that bothers me is they say quantum entanglement does not obey locality, but then they require it that it cannot violate the speed of light. The speed of light is a restriction based on locality. So you have this law of this phenomenon that is allowed to violate locality, but then it can't violate locality. I mean, it's just quantum gibberish. Okay, so I've given up. I'm not going to beg and plead anymore. So here's the please help page. And thank you very much, especially for my Patreon folks. You guys have been great. Somehow we'll make it up to all of you for sticking with me through thick and thin. There will be a status out next weekend. Thank you.